Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday and the end of May. And I'm here coming at you with the Embrace the Hell Yeah conversation with yours truly. It's the end of May, and it has been a great month of podcasts. If you haven't tuned into the podcast this month, they are all pretty amazing humans, I have to say. I kicked it off with Jonathan, who, if you just want to laugh and enjoy a great conversation with a great human being, he brings so much light to this space of dietetics. So I was glad to have a conversation with him. And then up next, I had Desi, who I didn't ever expect to have an emotional conversation with someone. He actually got me teary a couple times, and he is just so passionate about helping dads and helping males just really find their place when it comes to nutrition and cooking. I mean, he's just doing amazing things. So if that's an interest of you, or if you have a male who might need this in his life, please listen to my conversation with Desi. And then lastly, I had Kelsey, who is a seed to table manager, which I knew nothing about until I talked with her. And it's amazing that she is creating this awesome position as a dietitian in a small town in Iowa. So that's a very interesting conversation of what she's doing with some local schools that she's working with when it comes to gardening. So definitely all three of them are embracing the hell yeah, which I love. And I'm going to come at you this month with a little bit something different, something I'm passionate about outside of dietetics, which is skin and skincare. Little fun fact about myself, I actually, while I was in college, I was pre-med and I wanted to be a doctor. And so I needed to find some jobs that kind of were healthcare related. And so I got a job as a histotech, which basically was at our local hospital that was connected to my school. And a histotech actually processes tissue. So anything that's removed from the human body has to be submitted to be examined to make sure it's healthy, nothing's wrong with it. And so I would work evenings with pathologists who actually read the slides and study the tissue as well. And I learned a lot during that time. It was very much on-the-job training. I got to work with doctors, which was very awesome. And I also kind of continued that passion on by starting to work at a dermatology office. And a dermatology office, I did start out in medical records, but they soon had an opening in their lab, which I started doing more of that histology work. And so while I was there, I mean, granted, I was working for a dermatologist, which skin has always been one of my passions. And I learned a lot about just how skin is, how the human body works with skin, how products, how the sun, how everything affects your skin, and how it's the largest organ on our body. So while I was a histo tech, I actually was going through dietetic schooling at that time. And I decided to also get certified in histotechnology. So I became a histotechnologist, which was probably a harder exam than my dietetics exam. My friend Carlina and I did it together, and I remember studying, I remember crying, I remember it was just very difficult because there was a written exam and there was a practical exam. So I had to cut things, I had to process and cut to put onto slides, tissue like kidney and brain and bone and things outside of skin. But I learned a lot, and I would never ever take that experience back. So with May being Skin Cancer Awareness Month, I do get questions about skin every once in a while because I do try to take care of my skin. But there was a short period in my life, which let's call high school and college and a little bit of adulthood, where I didn't take care of my skin very well. And I spent a lot of time out in the sun with no sunscreen, and it was not a good decision on my part. I knew it was bad for me. I worked for a dermatologist who told me it was bad for me. Dr. Luckison, one of my physicians I worked for, told me that every time you go into a tanning bed is like smoking a pack of cigarettes, and that didn't stop me. And later on in life, I got melanoma, And never would I have guessed that I would have gotten skin cancer, but not even just skin cancer, just the aging process from tanning beds, from the sun, from not wearing SPF or wearing sunscreen. And so my thing that I always talk to people about is sunscreen is so good for you. You don't have to worry about wearing it. You will get vitamin D. You will get the benefits from it. And so I think if there's one thing that you can do for your health as far as the sun and just keeping your skin healthy and not aging, is to wear sunscreen. Over the past 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, there has been a 54 or 55% increase in diagnosed melanoma. And I think that is a lot. And that is very scary to me, knowing that I've had it, that anyone can be getting it. And I think mostly, just in my personal opinion, it's from tanning beds and indoor tanning. And indoor tanning, the statistics are out there. There are more people that actually developed skin cancer from indoor tanning than there is people that develop lung cancer from smoking. And so that's a pretty significant statistic, knowing that every time you hop into a tanning bed, you're really increasing your risk of developing cancer. And more people are diagnosed with skin cancer every year, more than any other cancers combined. And so it's very easy for us to get skin cancer because of that UV light exposure. And we get it from the sun, we get it from lots of other ways that you can get that UV exposure, but mostly from the sun and mostly from indoor tanning. So I like to share just a little bit more about what kind of sunscreens I use. I am very much into mineral sunscreens just because they are more natural. Our bodies don't absorb those chemicals, especially like the oxybenzone, which has been in the media a lot lately too because of how our bodies absorb it, but also how it's affecting our oceans. About 14,000 tons of sunscreen goes into our oceans each year as well. So if we can kind of choose more natural ingredients in our sunscreen, that's the best thing to do. I always have sunscreen with me, on me. It's in my car. It's in my house. It's in my parents' house. It's outside in the garage. I mean, it's very accessible. I just keep it everywhere. And the two, I kind of dabble between three different ones. All Good sunscreen is one that I use a lot of. There's a sport stick. There's the lotion as well. I always try to choose a lotion or a stick. Most of the time, the sprays of any kind are going to have other additives in it that I don't really want to use. But when I don't have someone to help me get my back or something like that, I always kind of have a spray just so I make sure I have my sunscreen on. I also sometimes like to use sunscreen for my scalp just because I do get burnt on my scalp pretty easily. So always remember that place as well as your tips of your ears. I also use Aveeno mineral sunscreen. I do like that line, and that's actually a newer line that I've used. It kind of blends in very well. I like Aveeno products. And then I also like to make sure that you're kind of looking at making sure that your lip balm is a mineral-based sunscreen. So if you're putting it, you should put stuff on your lips anyways when you're out in the sun, but making sure of that. And then another tip, actually my friend Carlina ended up having basal cell carcinoma on her eye. Making sure that your sunglasses are good quality sunglasses that can filter out UV light, because again, you're very much exposed to UV light while you're driving, while you're walking outside. So cheap sunglasses don't always have that protection. So good pair of sunglasses. They don't have to be super expensive, but make sure they have that filter in them. I also am a little crazy. I do wear hats a lot just to shield my face from the sun. And then I also started looking for clothing that is, UV protected, so has SPF in it too. So t-shirts, long sleeves, swimwear, pants, those are all great things to look for, is that UV protection. And Athleta tends to be one that I kind of lean towards. I found a lot of great things from them with that SPF. And lastly, I do like a little bronze, golden look to my skin. So investing in a self-tanner has been a lifelong goal of mine. I think I've tried quite a few. Right now, the one I'm using I do like is called Beauty by Earth, and it's been a good one. I really have liked the color it gives. It has great staying power. The first time I used it, it was a little intense, so I thinned it out with some lotion. So that's a great tip. But it does give you a really nice glow. And I have to thank my friend Brandy for introducing me to that. So make sure this month of May, the summer is here. Use your SPF. Know that you're going to be protected when you're out in the sun. Don't get skin cancer. It's not fun. And don't think that being tan is where it's at, because you are making that risk of exposing yourself to developing cancer. And that's just not worth it. If we're so particular about the food that we eat, the dryer sheets that we use, the chemicals we use on our lawn, we probably should be a little concerned about the sun. Talk to you next month.